Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Gary disappeared.
Yes, he did.
I'm here. What? I'm here.
Huh? Well, yeah, you have no camera. You're dark.
And there we are.
No.
Gary has went dark on us.
Gary's lost in space.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah,
We
we
hear
hear
you
you. We hear
fine.
you. We hear you, my man.
All right, let me I don't know what's going on. Give me a minute. All right, guys.
All right.
I'll pop back in.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's cool. At any rate, Cam,
Well, happy New Year, everybody.
Happy
New Year.
New Year.
Yeah. I got to hang out with a couple of people. I hung out with, I know Cam's going to yell at me about this. I hung out with Tenkar.
Why would I yell at you about that?
Well, I was promoting the Babylon 5 show. And
because Snob had his show on the
Yeah.
Babylon. I see.
yeah.
No, I don't care.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as you don't care,
Right.
No. I got a message from Madman, and I was like, yeah. Jeanette just got home for New Year's, because she came home from work and all that, and then she played Old Lang Syne on the piano. I got her for Christmas, and so, and people are like, "Ooh, who's playing the piano?" So, but it was fun, and we've got a couple of special guests here. We've got one of them's a returning guest. Actually, we're on episode 6, and we got a returning guest already. Travis, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, Jeff and Cam.
Yeah, I got an email, I think, from you. I had to fill out a survey or something today.
Yeah, I got everybody got their surveys for Full Metal Tilt. So just getting all those emails and everything, so that way I can start putting out the little betas and everything, and get things moving along.
Yeah, and Gary's back.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, Matt, what you been up to?
Today in particular, doing some rewrites. I've been very busy. Today's typically, after church it's chores, and then I've been doing some rewrites of the Shadow Dark thing I'm doing. It's one of those things where I had someone look at it and they're just like, "Are you sure you want to say it like this and do it like this?" And I was just like, you're right. This is confusing. So something that I wanted to publish a little while ago, it's not going to be published for a little while. But it's been a good day. It's been a good day. Staying busy. So,
Yeah. And
thanks for having me on, by the way.
Oh no, man, it's a pleasure. There's several people that got me motivated. I'd already been doing some interviews with Jason on Sci-Fi for Me TV. I don't know if everybody's not subscribed to that. We are streaming there as well as on the Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. But we got to interview Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland. They were great. We've had Steven Chenault on from Troller Games. Hopefully we'll get him again here soon. They've got part 2 of their Kickstarter for coming up in February. Or I'm sorry, backer kit. They're doing a backer kit. They're in good graces with the backer kit guys. So I think that's coming up in February. It's going to be the lower levels of Castle Zagig.
Oh wow!
Nice.
So I'm already in the first Kickstarter should be fulfilling soon. So that's about done. And let's see. Then we had the guys, the Arduin guys, along with Matthew Tabb from Barrows and Borderlands. I know you guys know him well. You probably had some. You've had several of them on, haven't you? Did you ever have Dave and George on?
Oh yeah, yeah. The
Mhm.
day, yeah, the day they launched, or like right before the day, like the day before, they launched the Portals to Adventure Kickstarter. We had them on. We were the ones that kind of announced it.
Yes. Okay.
Which is just thrills me to death.
It was great.
Yeah, like I like, people don't know me who are watching right now. Like I'm all about the indie scene. I want to help in any way that I can to like expand the hobby. I think now is the time to strike too if you got a good
Yep.
idea. And Matt Tapp is a great guy. I got to hang out with him at Arnicon this year. Just a real hardworking kid, and I got nothing but mad respect for him. He's doing the hustle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because he's actually helping me out with a project too.
Oh, nice.
So I'm working on putting something together.
He's still got that youthful energy.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, life
he's younger
hasn't
than my
beat
son.
him down yet. You
Yeah.
know, and like he hasn't
Yeah.
tried to buy a house or whatever it
Oh, I
is. You
know.
know, he's just like everybody in his world has been nice.
He's so
to him.
happy, and he's got so much damn energy.
And
I'm so
he's
jealous.
he's just such a good guy. I just, he's one of those guys that you really root for, and
Yep.
he's always trying to be on the positive.
Yeah.
Barrows and Borderlands itself is just it's an incredible product. So
Speaking of that, I got this box in the mail yesterday from somebody. I don't know. It came from New York. Do we know anybody in New York?
You know me.
Uh-oh.
I was gonna ask because I haven't heard anything, and I'm like, oh no, did they screw up the shipment? Blah blah blah.
Speaking of which, Matt, you have a box on the way to you as well.
Oh, awesome. Yay, Christmas. Yes, you got it.
I did get it. Yep. I opened it. My wife's like, "What is it? What is it?" And I'm like, "I think I know what it is."
I didn't pay for it, I promise. Right? Like my wife is always like, what is this charge? And I have to go, look, it's a first edition signed by the author. And then she's just looking at me. That's your birthday gift. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, some of the stuff I bought today is probably Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Maybe for Christmas next year too.
Yeah, next year. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, we were really, man, this was a bad year for a lot of medical stuff. And not just me, but my wife and all that. We had a lot of unexpected expenses. So on top of having to buy a transmission the year before last, while we were on vacation.
I'm so nervous. My car is like 3 payments away from being paid off.
Yeah.
And I'm so nervous. I've had the mechanic come out to my place like 3 times in the past 4 months, dude. I'm just like, we got to get this thing checked out. I've had so much replaced.
Yeah. This is the 3rd transmission I've put in this thing. It's a 2007 Dakota. So it's going on. It's classic. Oh no, is it classic now?
No, it's not. It's not classic.
Isn't it?
It's old.
Gary and I have had this conversation. I'm the type of guy that I will drive my vehicle into the ground.
No.
I actually had a Toyota Corolla. I don't remember what year, 2005. About 2 years ago. It was my wife's car. Our mechanic, who I've been going through for years, almost a decade, he's like, there was something wrong with it. I can't remember what it was. And he goes, Matt, can you just, he calls me. He's like, Matt, can you just come back to the shop? I got to talk to you. He's like, the cost to replace this part, whatever it is, in this whole thing is just not worth it because your frame is so rusted that if you're in an accident, you're probably going to die. You've been a great customer and we'd like to see you back. Just go out and buy a new car. And I was like, okay. And so my wife got a new car.
So your wife got a new one.
Yeah, I just don't like I just don't like car payments. So that's why once it's paid off, I just drive. I just drive until I have to do something else.
I'm with you. I have a 2006 Toyota Matrix, and I'm getting close to 300,000. And I have people asking me all the time. They're like, "Can I buy that off you?" Every time I go down to the shop and get something like done, like something minor, you know,
Right.
like an oil change. Whether they're like, can I buy that off you? They're just amazed by seeing the mileage, and I'm like, it's because it's a Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how they make them.
It
Yep.
probably leaks a little oil or burns a little oil or something like that. But other than that, it's probably great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are correct. 20 years, it's a classic. And if you think about it, that they started selling the model the year, you know, so right now it's what, 2026? What'd you say?
It's a 2007. Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at yes, they've been selling 2007s now. So
Yeah.
at some point in time this year would have been the year.
Right.
That'd be 20 years for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, but it's like, oh, I don't want a car payment again. Then I got to
Yeah.
have full coverage insurance and all
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Right now,
Well,
you know, when I moved up to Tennessee from Florida, my insurance dropped so low that the guy's like, and when I called him up to change my, because I'm stuck with the same insurance company, right? But I changed it. I had to change my address because now I got getting Tennessee plates and getting Tennessee driver's license and all that stuff. So I had to have Tennessee based insurance. So I called him up the 800 number and he's like, well, so the vehicle is old enough that we're only going to pay like whatever the market value is for the vehicle at full coverage, which is about $1,000, and your deductible is going to be either $500 or $1,000, so you're not going to get anywhere. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But then he gave me the quote on what it would be for, like, just like the requirement plus a little bit of extra for all the crazy other people out there on the road. And it's to the point where like, oh, wait, what? That's not per month? That's for 6 months?
Yeah.
I mean, it was that big of a difference.
Yeah.
So I buy my insurance policy at 6 months, 6 months at a time. But the irony is I use the pay in 4 from PayPal. So I pay for it through PayPal with the pay in 4. So I make 4 payments for 6 months of coverage, and I get the you get a discount for paying for 6 months in advance, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I get the discount, but I still get to pay monthly payments, but only have to pay 4 of them. So we're game the system, man. Whatever you can.
Oh
Does
yeah.
your
Yeah.
Starship have
Yep.
insurance? That's what I'm curious about. Does
That's
your
right.
Starship
That's
have
right.
insurance?
Yep. Well, I'm hoping so. That's an interesting question.
That or your clone. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if the world could handle 2 of me. So
I'm not
Gary, what's up with you? What are you doing lately?
Well, it's funny because as soon as Matt told you about his day where he like went to church and did chores, I thought about my day where I crawled out of bed at the crack of 10 a.m. The kids were at the grandparents'. I got dressed. Me and my girl went and had tacos and margaritas before noon. Then we came back and had a nap.
You're good. You're a good heathen boy.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was really my day. In fact, a few hours before this started, I was just kind of waking up and I walked in the kitchen. My girl, the kids are at the grandparents. I'm gonna have to mute at some point because she's gonna be bringing the whole tribe in, and
Oh yeah.
they're a loud bunch. But I went towards the kitchen and I was reaching for a soda, and she's, for the first time in like 72 hours, because the kids have been gone, she looked at me and said, "No drinking tonight." And like, she never says that because, she's from Milwaukee. That's all they do there, right?
I got to show this one.
What's up, Erudite? Good to see you, man.
What
Hey,
would it be
Erudite.
if you weren't either
Yeah, but we did.
pixelating
We
or
went out.
whatever?
We went out and we went shopping for a little while, and I found this little game shop. We've got this sort of Korean strip mall. Happy New Year to you. And
oh yeah, Happy New Year, man.
right in the middle of this it's actually a huge sort of like Korean grocery and then little restaurants and tchotchke shops and everything like that.
Yeah.
But there's a game shop right in the middle of it. And I just discovered it. It has everything.
Does it have any old stuff?
It doesn't have any old stuff. However, I also went to another game shop this weekend. If you're in the Austin area, there's a comic book store called Austin Books and Comics, and around the corner there's a game shop, which their name I can never remember, but it's the same company. And they have old stuff, old AD&D stuff, old Dragon magazines, that kind of thing. Although the role players bring in, when they're trying to sell their stuff, they go to the comic shops for whatever reason. So they do have a pretty good backlog of old stuff.
So I got a comment on this. I've already replaced the alternator, and then the replacement went bad, and I had to replace it again, but it was under lifetime warranty. So
that happened to me recently, actually.
Factory went bad after, you get it. It happens, right? And then I replaced it, and on my way, I was going to a concert in Nashville, right, which is about a 3-hour drive, and my alternator light went on, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. So, and it was raining. This was when that hurricane came through, when Helene came through and hit eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for us, it kind of missed where we're at, but so it was raining, so I had to change an alternator in the rain, and it was the factory one. I've never changed the alternator on it before, but I got in a good habit of knowing how to change alternators after back in the 90s. So when I had to change it the second time, I'm like, really, there's no way it went bad. Yep, sure enough, it went bad.
Here's the formula for you, man. Track all your maintenance bills, and when your maintenance bill equals 50% of what your car payment is, it is time to get rid of the car.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me,
I'm real close, if not over that line.
like you're coming up on it, bro.
Yeah.
That's why you need a good engineer, like on a starship.
I like how he's trying to guide the show back.
Speaking of starships, hey, let's talk about
space.
RPGs in space.
Yeah.
Jeff, go.
Okay. Well, I have not played any RPGs in space, surprisingly.
That's
I know.
why we have this excellent panel here to
That's why I
us
brought
about
you
these
guys
things.
on, because I want to, and I know Travis sent me some info, and I want to hear all about some of these different your different experiences, because I think, Gary, you've done some Star Wars, right?
I've done
D6?
a lot of Star Wars, and I've turned other systems into sci-fi games that generally just become Star Wars after a certain amount of time.
That's our generation's burden, right?
That is our generation, right? It's hard to get away from, yeah.
The closest I've come is we did, and there was no official RPG out at the time. We took D20 Modern, and we applied it to Stargate.
There you go.
Stargate, and so.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. When you say, sci-fi games, a lot of times there's a lot of science fiction games out there. There's a lot of different variety, but I think what people think of when you say sci-fi is starfighters and naval battles, maybe space marines, but I think so much of it is space oriented that, we're missing a lot of sci-fi games.
I think that might be
like
true.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
All the cyberpunk stuff is sci-fi.
Yes,
to me they are too.
It's definitely sci-fi. It's not space.
Yeah. See, when I think sci-fi, I think of space exploration, aliens, and stuff. To me, cyberpunk is its own genre, like maybe a subgenre of sci-fi.
Yeah,
right.
But when someone starts talking cyberpunk, I don't really equate that with. Well, you know how like there was for the longest time people were saying the Blade Runner universe is the same universe as Alien.
Yeah.
I would never think to mesh the two, because to me, though, they're just so separate. Like the adventure types, the story arcs are going to in a cyberpunk type setting are so radically different from like what's going on up in space. I'm not saying you can't have net runners and and guys with tech or enhancements or some weird thing going on with them in the cyber world. But
are
I do think I do think that they are separate enough that I really don't equate the two.
I think cyberpunk is definitely its own genre. Even, so Shadowrun would fit in with the cyberpunk genre. It's fantasy, but it's techie future, near future.
I think when you say sci-fi, people are thinking space opera.
They're thinking Star Wars,
thinking
Star
Star
Trek.
Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Star
Yeah.
Trek. I mean, Flash Gordon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw a Flash Gordon game at the store.
Really?
And it was not like old. I took pictures. I hadn't had a chance to put them up. They may have uploaded already to my Google overlords. But yeah, I was like, really? Yeah. Flash Gordon
Well,
Yeah, I love me some Flash Gordon and everything.
by Savage World. It was a Savage World.
Ray guns and rocket ships.
Yeah, pulp
I
sci-fi
just,
stuff.
and it's funny that whole space opera genre, like the whole genre feels retro now. Like when I think of sci-fi, I don't really think of, this is an analog vision of sci-fi. It's a pre-digital. That's what space opera is. It's a very pre-digital sci-fi kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's almost the notion is almost retro.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be hard for kids today to imagine, actually.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because I start thinking about like The Expanse. I mean, that show is really good and that universe is really awesome. I never read the books. I actually have a copy of The Expanse RPG right next to me here. But that's like hard sci-fi. I mean, there's always like an element of fantasy to make it work.
Right.
At The Expanse, it's the juice right before you go into their faster than light. Well, it's not really faster than light travel, but you get injected with this chemical that allows your body to like withstand all the G-force that you're going to be going in. They have the technology sadly is called the Epstein drive, but oops. Yeah. This is from the 90s, 80s, and 90s. This is before all that crap. But it's unfortunately named Epstein drive, and it allows them to do what they're doing in the universe. But for the most part, that's hard sci-fi, and it's got, all this digital stuff. But what's really cool too is like they don't need to have laser guns, because you fire a bullet or a rail gun at a ship, that ship is going to be in some serious trouble, like because the decompression and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that's why I always thought it was interesting, because with the Flash Gordon and everything, I mean, it makes complete sense using swords on a ship and everything, because you're not going to unload a gun.
Exactly.
That's a whole lot of problems.
In an Alien RPG campaign I was running, I had one of my players really, really, really wanted to play Raylan Givens in space. So he was like this bounty hunter guy, and there's like this character class or archetype called the Marshal. So he was like quick on the draw and all this stuff. And I goaded him into firing his pistol on a space station. Oh man, that was. Talk about fear, right? Because Alien RPG is a sci-fi horror. Like all of a sudden, explosive decompression. Everyone's trying to make it pass as these bulkheads are dropping. Some poor NPCs got crushed. It was awesome, and the whole time, all the players are just giving my buddy Death Dagger stares. They're just like, I can't believe you effing did that.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I did see the Alien one, and of course I saw Blade Runner there, and actually right underneath the or not the Buck Rogers, right underneath the Flash Gordon, and next to Flash Gordon. This is sitting on the very top shelf. Like you need a stool to stand on to reach it, right? They had one of the Traveler Deep Night Revelation box sets, but underneath those was Delta Green stuff. Now, is that considered? I know you guys were talking about that the other night, right?
I don't know if I would consider Delta Green sci-fi. I mean, that's more like Eldritch horror, but with a lot of guns and a little bit more pulpy.
Yeah,
it's sci-fi adjacent. I mean, it's definitely sci-fi adjacent. If you're dealing with the aliens, but you never
leave the ground.
Well, and the other thing is that the technology. I mean, I'm okay in that genre. I don't know about Delta Green specifically, but in that genre, the as the PCs, the humans are usually not dealing with that technology directly. Like the technology is
Right.
still this magic kind of mysterious.
Yeah,
It's all the mystery. So
Erudite wants to know if you can play Lamentations in space.
Yeah.
So like
You-
kind
you
of like
could-
I
Warehouse
think you
13
can.
type stuff.
Yeah, you totally could. You totally could. In fact, I want to say that I think it was Grim Jim actually, Postmortem Studios, some years ago, in conjunction with, I cannot remember her name, but she's a former prawn actress turned D&D person.
Oh, and
Uh,
Satine
Satine?
Phoenix.
Satine Phoenix. They collaborated and made something called Machinations of the Space Princess or something like that.
Okay.
I've never played it, but I suspect it's a little bit more tame compared to Lamentations, but
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, and heck, Lamentations is really not about the system, it's about the vibe. If you can
Well,
scare the
Matt,
hell out of your players and
So-
run them through the ringer,
I mean,
you
I
got
mean, I mean,
Lamentations in space.
Matt Tapp would be like, "Oh yeah, you can just add it."
yeah,
Right,
totally good.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
You know.
I think the big thing with that different. Well, okay. There's a couple things. You can do sci-fi with OSR style rules.
Right.
There's any number of products that will help you do so if you don't want to put it together yourself. But I would say that sci-fi RPGs, although they don't always hit the mark, these are a lot of times the games where they're trying new mechanics and they're trying new things. I mean, we get the D6 system due to Star Wars. Actually, due to Ghostbusters, and then it became Star Wars. But D6 was really, that system. They were really trying to have mechanics that made it feel like a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I mean, look at what WotC did with Spelljammer. What did they forget?
Ships.
Well,
What do you?
Spelljammer. See, Spelljammer, I wouldn't call that sci-fi at all.
Yeah, that's
Spelljammer was
not even
gon-
space fantasy. Maybe
It
'cause
was like I would just call it Gonzo because
Mhm.
even the rules of gravity didn't work because like
Right.
instead of having a center of gravity, you had a plane, so
Yeah.
it would create a bubble of oxygen as you left whatever planet you were on, and of course it was powered by magic, right? So I mean, it was fun, it was weird, we played it for a little while, but I agree with Gary though. Like I think sci-fi game mechanics are going to be where you find stuff that's just different.
Yeah.
Because, and I've been saying this for years, like I think mechanics really need to mechanics are where the rubber meets the road, where the player experience and the character experience kind of combine. And if you have a good game mechanic, you'll be able to like help with immersion. That's been my theory for a
Right.
while. I
Yeah.
cite Alien RPG's panic mechanic as an example. The level drain mechanic from classic Undead, I think, is a really great example. But look at Traveler.
Yeah.
Traveler's 2d6 system, but even character generation, radically different from D&D.
Yeah.
I mean, you can die in character generation.
Now there is a
so
caveat. That's optional rule now. That is optional, but you can put it in there if you want.
Yeah.
That is a classic trope for Traveler.
Well, let's be honest. You can die in character generation in D&D too. It just depends on if you roll that one on your hit dice.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd make you play that character.
Sure.
That's the way Matt rolls. I rolled a 1. I'm tougher than all
Are
of
you
Watch me
a
reach
3d6 straight down the line?
Yes,
Oh,
I
shit.
am.
Oh God. Okay.
Hardcore.
Well,
Yeah, guys, give me 1 second. I gotta say goodnight to my son. So.
If there
Go
was-
ahead.
If there was a temple to the OSR where Matt could tithe 10% and profess his hardcoreness, he would do it.
He went to church this morning, man.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
He was probably getting out right around the time I was starting my second margarita.
Over the margarita, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think
I was just gonna. You go.
Go ahead.
Okay,
He's
Cam,
out,
take
out,
it.
Cam. Go ahead.
Take it, Cam.
Okay, sorry. I was just gonna go back to the beginning a little bit and see if anybody according to what I looked up, that there was a TSR game called Metamorphosis Alpha, which is considered by some to be the oldest RPG. I know nothing about this game. Aren't you guys familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am familiar with it, and I know that they also put it into the Amazing engine later on.
Okay, cool.
Because that was like I think around the end of TSR.
Okay. Do you want to take a minute to just kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Well, I never played it.
Okay.
I know of it, and actually, I mean, I have like a PDF copy of the Amazing Engine version of it, but it's very interesting because it's kind of like I guess the best way to describe it is: have you all familiar with Silent Running?
That sounds familiar.
The game?
No, the
movie?
The movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty much kind of like a biodome in space, and so you kind of like have like Gamma World, almost like going on at the same time. You can have it's right up Matt Tapp's, like, you know, in his, you know,
Yeah.
just with everything that he's been doing, and but you're in space, and a lot of people don't, like the people and the characters and stuff don't know that you're in the spaceship, but you can travel between worlds and stuff in it. So
okay.
It's, you know what, let me pull up the Amazing Engine version that I have, and I can show you some pictures here. So.
Okay. As you're doing that, I was just going to say, and then, you know, from my perspective, and again, I am not an expert on these. I played a lot of sci-fi games, but I don't know the history all that well compared to D&D.
Right.
And then we have, you know, Traveler obviously is kind of considered a very classic, and I noticed Michael did show up in the
He
chat
did.
there. Yeah. Michael,
His ears were burning.
Yeah, right. And I know he's played some Traveler. And then,
Yeah.
you know, the next one in my mind, you know, you've got Gamma World, which came out, I think, in the 70s, right? Originally. And then you've got Star Frontiers from TSR in the 80s.
Love it.
And I'm not familiar with any of these games, unfortunately. You know, my stuff is from later. But I just wanted to kind of invite anybody who knows about any of those games or any others that are kind of the roots of this to, you know, chat about it a little bit. So I'm sorry.
I've never played Star Frontiers, so I can't speak to that, but I've played a lot of original Traveler.
Okay.
Um,
and I'm the opposite.
Oh, cool. Well, there
So
you go.
you haven't played Traveler at all.
It kind of works out.
Well,
Yeah.
Travis, let's go back to you had something you want to show on screen?
Yeah, did I send it to you all? I was going to kind of give you an idea of what I was talking about. Like, again,
you want to share your screen, or you want?
I thought I did. It says stop sharing here. Let me stop and try again.
Oh, Jeff, do you have to pull it up?
I might.
Yeah, you might have to allow
it
him.
beeped at me. Where is that at?
Yeah,
Oh,
you got to allow him.
There we go. Okay, I had to add to the scene.
We're doing it
There we go.
live. So this kind of gives you an idea of, like, when you're talking about Alpha and Omega, talking about metamorphosis. And then also, there's another picture. Whoa, I need to bring that over. Sorry. So it's like I said, like, they're kind of like living in a starship, but yet people don't know. But if you've never seen Silent Running, I highly recommend it. It is a pretty sad story, but you know, I believe it came out in the 70s, late 70s, and it was it basically had biodomes. Earth was, you know, polluted and everything, and we're out in space, and pretty much the story is that they were told, oh, just blow it all up. We're done. The project's over with. And one guy was like, no. And it's just him and these robots that he has, and he names the robots Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Oh, wow.
Great movie. It's a great movie.
I'll check it out. For sure. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay, then Matt, you said
I'll stop sharing.
Okay, and Travis, you said you also played Star Frontiers.
I played Star Frontiers.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll come back to you. Okay, well, let's come back to you. But Travis, you said you were a travel player, right?
No.
No, I'm sorry, Matt.
We're the
Matt.
reverse.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, I hit the names. I confused Cam.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I've heard of it, but many times I've never played it. So
Yeah, it's one of the Mark Miller wrote it. It's one of the original systems that use just like a 2d6. I'm big in like looking at bell curves, and so if you look a
Mhm.
2d6 will create like a bell curve, and it's really simple because that's where everything kind of revolves around that. So like if you'll get during character generation, you'll get bonuses, you'll get access to a skill and a bonus, and a +1 on a 2d6 is actually pretty good, and then +2 and +3 implies that you're like a master of whatever it is. I want to say at times it can feel very hard sci-fi because the original book gives you like a formula for like calculating your faster than light travel or whatever between like the various like uh colonies or whatever.
Mhm.
um my very first time playing was with a guy who is, well, he passed away a few years ago, but he was an actual scientist, so he just loved it, and he would actually expect us to kind of understand the nuts and bolts and here to the actual science of it. And that to me was like part of, maybe not necessarily a fault of the game, but maybe a fault of his interpretation of the game, because at some point we were just looking at him like, dude, we're not scientists, can we just make a roll? you know but the fun part about that game really for me was character generation, because you'd roll up your basic stats and they would correspond roughly to like your station in life, especially if you have with like the social stat. And then you'd start determining like what like branch of service you were in, because I mean you're out in space, you're working for some sort of spacefaring company or military branch. So you could be like a free trader in this like merchant guild, or you could be like a marine or a naval officer, member of the army, and you just kind of go through and do these 40-year terms, and each term or each part of the term had like what's the word I'm looking for? A check you had to make.
Right.
What skill did you get? Did you like increase a base stat? Did you muster out
careers, right?
yeah, the careers, yeah. Did
Education
you
or careers, yeah.
and then there was a chance that you could die. And
Hmm.
then you just start the process over. But like you could start off with a guy who only served one term because he mustered out, so therefore he's 22 years old, or you could have just kept making these checks and start off with a guy who's like in his early 60s with like all these skills and abilities.
That's cool.
Everybody else, like if the game master determined it, could try to make a check, because the target number was always an 8 or better, usually
Right.
90% of the time. So 2d6, 8 or better. And then again, that +1, +2, or +3 goes a long way to succeeding in those checks. So yeah, you totally could play a space janitor, like if you mustered out real quick.
That
You know what I mean?
space janitor, that's also a stormtrooper.
Yeah. Well, I'm there's a offshoot of the game because it's gone through many iterations, which I don't know a whole lot about. But someone made a sci-fi horror game called Hostile, and a buddy of mine has been running a campaign for about a year now. I rolled kind of not great. I only had two tours or terms, so I don't have a whole lot of skills. But he's really tough. He's a Marine, and he's got like, well, he doesn't have book smart. His education score is really low, but he's got a very high intelligence. So I'm playing a very cunning warrior in a sense. I named him Job, and he has the tendency to just kind of walk into the room and take over everything, because everyone's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, I got some raw intelligence here, right? So like, this is how we're going to get out of this mess, you know?
So let me ask you. So you said in your creation, basically as you go through, if you keep on succeeding, I guess you get older, more skills and everything. So is there an inherent benefit if you are younger? Is there like another side to it? I know you mentioned that this particular guy you had strong stats or whatever, but is that built in, or is it just typically you want to go higher and higher in your career?
What you would want is to actually kind of muster out after like maybe 3 or 4 terms, so you have like more skills available to you,
Mhm.
because there really is no benefit for being young. In fact,
Okay.
if you're a 62-year-old, you're going to have age penalties to
Sure,
your
sure.
stats.
So you want to be somewhere in the middle, maybe a middle-aged. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. A rumor has it that Firefly was Joss Whedon's Traveler campaign in college. So if you think about the characters from the show Firefly, one of
we know how much Cam loves Firefly.
We'll leave that for another time.
Okay. I have a feeling I said something I shouldn't have. But anyway.
No.
But
we're trying to figure out what to watch after Babylon 5, and somebody said Firefly, and he's like,
watching Firefly is like falling in love and then your heart being broken. That's all I'll say to that.
We did have a super chat from Michael. He said, and I'm gonna guess this is probably on Sci-Fi for Me TV. Metamorphosis Alpha is based on the TV show The Star Lost. I'm not familiar with that show.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, the tie-in, he says, is the use of the habitat module from that movie talked about to save special effect money. Okay. And we lost Travis, it looks like. I don't know what happened to him, but hopefully he'll be back. I'll message him.
Had enough.
Well,
yeah.
We were going to go back to Travis. Gary, do you have your earliest, or maybe just one of your favorites you want to talk about?
Sure, yeah. I owned Star Frontiers, and I can't say I have a distinct memory of my friend's older brother trying to run it for us, but I can't say that it got any play past that.
Okay.
And then I think the first sci-fi or space opera game I really got into was West End Games D6 Star Wars, which was just so much fun.
That came out in 82 or 83, is that right?
I want to say it was 87.
Okay, yeah, I think it was mid to late
because I think they released it at the 10th anniversary or something. The year lined up with like one of the movies coming out, and I don't know if it was the first movie or the end of the song. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. Anyway, the game itself, I just went back and reread it recently. Erudite, Matt tells Erudite, Gary used to run a lot of Star Wars D6, and Erudite invites me on his channel and calls me a Star Wars D6 expert.
Aren't you?
No, I'm not. So I went back and I read it. And the system, I think, still works, although there's a few more little things that I'm just like, ooh, that's a little rough. That's a little rough. The writing was a little rough. But at the time, it was so quick to start because you didn't really roll up a character. You had templates. It was anti-traveler. It was like you sit down, you're playing 5. It games.
You're right. It was 1987.
Yeah. Something like that. But there was also another aspect to that game was just the IP, because people forget that there was no Star Wars. It was over. Nobody was talking about prequels. Nobody was talking about sequels. Lucas said he was done. So if you wanted new Star Wars, you had comic books. You didn't even have novels yet. The game came out before the Thrawn stuff, or right around the same time, I think, but the game was first. So that was another bonus
on
feature.
That note, there's a lot of things that ended up in the expanded universe of Star Wars that originated in the West End Games stuff. They actually created a ton of lore.
Well, they created a good amount of lore, but one of the things they went in and did was they named all the aliens. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of alien races. You had seen one or two, different variations of them in the movies, but you never had a name.
Right.
So they did a lot of that.
And the same with starships and Starship. There was a little bit of that, I think, in Star Wars. Like you had the Incom X-Wing and such, but they went into a lot more depth and the pseudo technical details of it. West End Games is really where they did a nice job with that stuff.
Yeah,
West End Games really kept that franchise in. I mean, people forget how big Star Wars was. It's not like people were going to forget about it. But at least for the geeks, the comic books and that RPG kind of kept it in the zeitgeist probably longer than it should have been, So there goes Travis.
We lost him again.
There goes Travis.
Weather must be bad down in Appalachia.
It's not bad here. It's not.
Well, if I may, I'll throw in a little anecdote regarding Star Wars. I had a role-playing group that I played with for a long period of time. I mentioned this on some other shows that I was younger when I started with this group. These were like college guys, and I was like just getting into junior high. But I played with these guys for a long time, and one of the games we played was Star Wars, and I think we started it. Either we didn't know about the West End game, or it was just before it came out. And so we kind of just, made our own and played it. And like you said, this was before a lot of the EU stuff and everything. So we didn't, if I go back and look at it, a lot of stuff is wrong, it's just, we didn't have that information. But I do remember that it was around the time of the West End games, because I remember getting it, and it was just kind of a we just used it as a source book, for the background information. We didn't end up using the mechanics because we had already been playing, in our own one. But for that, it was, I really some of the other guys that the guy that DM'd didn't really like that, because I'm like, oh, look at all this stuff. This is the real Star Wars, and he's like, yeah, yeah. But I found it great for that, and still do. I enjoy looking at a lot of that material.
I actually enjoyed going back and looking at that, and looking at the material again. It's clunky the way all old games are clunky. The way it can be a little hard to read. It's a little obtuse. There's a lot of rules that I would just cut right out of it. I would just get rid of completely. But I think it still holds up. I think if some kid got a hold of it and really wanted to play a Star Wars game, I don't think there's a lot of worse options. I think they do pretty well for themselves.
And if you want, well, a few years back, and I say a few, it's probably 10 years back now, Fantasy Flight Games that had a lot of Star Wars licenses, they put out a box set of the main rule book, and it was like a player's handbook kind of supplement. I forget the exact name of it. Everybody's smiling at that. Is that
are you talking about the reprints of the West End stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, so they put that out, and man, I should have picked one of those up, but I didn't. But I'm one of like 3 guys who's a fan of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. I think it's great. I think I
saw both of. I think they had both of them up there.
If anyone out there finds a copy of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars and takes a look at it and looks at the funky dice and gets a little weirded out by it,
give me a call.
Give Gary a call. He's one of the only guys I think understands how that works. I mean, it really is more of like a quote unquote storyteller type system where you're not really looking at numbers. You're looking at symbols, which are to tell you like how to interpret the scene as it develops and stuff. It's really cool once you understand it. My buddy, huge Star Wars fan, picked it up like this would have had it been when it first came out, so over a decade ago. And we sat down, made characters, thought we understood how to play, and then the dice started rolling, and it was like a deer in headlights. I felt so bad. My buddy was running it. He was the game master.
It's got the weird symbols on the dice too.
Well, Here's the problem with that. I think because when they wrote the rules, the dice are easy. There's good dice and there's bad dice. And the same type of dice cancel each other out. How difficult is that? That's it.
Sounds like Hero Quest to me.
Maybe.
I've never played it. I've never
but
played
yeah,
it.
But it's really not when you try to read the section on how to use the dice, it's just bullshit. It's like my eyes cross. I get almost mad. A friend of mine named Isaac, who's actually in our Easy D6 game, it was years ago. We were playing X-Wing, and he said, "Hey, did you try the role-playing game?" And I said, "No." And he said, "It's got this really great system." And he sat down and like 3 minutes showed me
and explained it to you.
Yeah, he just explained. He said, "Look, these are good dice. They have 2 symbols on them. These are bad dice. Instead of having a difficulty number, you have a number of difficulty dice that you roll against your stats and skills, and that's it." That is the
and that's my fear of like, okay, I could run a Traveler game. I'd love to run a Traveler game. I've never played in one, and
Traveler is not that hard. It really isn't. Where I think Fantasy Flight Star Wars can be complicated is because these dice are supposed to it's more than just, oh, hey, I succeeded. You've got to develop like this.
There's like a supplemental result, right, that comes with it. It's like it's not,
but it like that when we played that one game, and your son and I, Gary, were like in some car, we're shooting at some bad guys. I'm the one driving because I'm playing this Trandoshan bodyguard dude, and your son's like popping out and just shooting at guys. It was awesome, but like I would like transfer like a dice to him based on my, and like, but all the while we're like talking about the scene and how it like develops. So like that's where I think the real challenge is for those dice.
So I was real fortunate in that the group I played with, they wanted to learn how to play the game. I mean, that's really what it came down to. They were excited about playing the game. I'll just sum this up. The main difference and the reason everybody says the dice are a gimmick, and maybe, I don't know. But the reason that they use the special dice is because there are 3 axes of success and failure on every roll, right? You can succeed or fail at your task. The way you do things can make things harder or easier for you next turn or for your people. And then you have a triumph or a despair, which is like a critical and a failure. And these can all happen, and they do all happen simultaneously. So yeah, you shot the stormtrooper, but you got 2 disadvantage and then you got to think of something real quick because you snapped the hose on the back and now there's smoke blowing into the room, or so you do have to narrate the results, and it's no more difficult than doing it for an OSR game, except that you have 3 axes to narrate.
Yeah.
It's not just you failed or succeeded. It's the additional material.
And I think, go ahead.
I'm just going to, you're the guest. You go first.
All right, I was just going to say, like with the OSR, it's a little the roles are a little more discreet too. Like an encounter in an OSR game, it's gonna you're gonna have your reaction roll, right? Surprise, and it's just like this procedure where my take on the Fantasy Flight Star Wars, it's like a little bit more all inclusive, and that's where you get things like, you shot the stormtrooper, but like the ricochet, blaster ricocheted off and hit this thing, and now all the smoke's pouring out, and now you, Travis, your character's going to have difficulty seeing, so you're going to have all, and it's like this big thing. So I mean, I think it's fun once you really like just buy into it. But
the thing about, and we're talking a lot about the system, I hope we get to in a little bit, because there's all these different systems, but really just running a sci-fi game, because it is a sci-fi game, demands different things of the person running the game and the players. It can be very similar to hex crawling and dungeon crawling and all that, but there are some differences. And if you're just running a sci-fi game for the first time, I just go easy on them when they're in their ship, because there's no other game where you can TPK a whole party more easily than a sci-fi game.
Yeah, right. The vacuum doesn't care.
Yeah, so there's considerations, whether it's Star Wars or Star Trek or Traveler or whatever it is. There are other considerations.
Yeah, so, and I was going to I did actually play the Fantasy Flight one a little bit. Like this was years ago. I ran it with a small group of basically the sample game, and one of the things that was kind of confusing, I think, about the game is they had different versions of the game. I mean, it's the same game, but like different setting versions. Some of them were like focused on like the rogues, and some of them were more focused on the Jedi and all that kind of stuff. But it's all the same game and mechanics, but a lot of other content. But the thing is, it's a design. The design philosophy is completely different, right? Where you've got these other dice that are doing things, and they're trying to represent the world in some way and bringing all this flavor in, compared to an old school game where it's kind of like, everyone's used to the DM really filling in those spaces, and with the players too, collaboratively. Whereas this game, it seemed much more, they wanted to kind of feed you that information. Not that you aren't being creative with it, but giving you the prompts for it. Is that?
No, I hear what you're saying. And I think that kind of feeds into, with that game, Matt had mentioned that, yes, there's a storytelling aspect to it. Mechanics do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I still here?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're just roboting.
Sorry about that. The mechanics don't dictate the specifics of the situation. You, as the GM or player, you have to fill in that gap but
Sure.
it gives you the mechanical consequences
Right.
of that rule. If that makes any sense, you still have to narrate it, but I think it's more mechanical than what people think.
Sure.
I don't think
Sure.
it's a storytelling game. The only thing that makes it a story game, and this is going by the Chubby Funster's definition of story game, the only thing that makes it a story game is that if you roll a triumph, then you get to have some big badass movie moment that the player pretty much describes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could just real quickly just mention it, the someone in the chat did say Watsy
Yep.
did have the Star Wars license for role playing games. I played it a little bit. I didn't really love it. But does anyone else want to mention that before we go back to Star Frontiers?
Was that the D20 Star Wars?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a
I
lot
played
like.
it.
Okay,
I played it. It was all right. I mean, it was like D20 Modern, but in space, but with
right.
Star Wars. Just a quick funny anecdote. I actually played what they call the Dark Side devotee. I was that guy, and I was having fun using the dark side and just like kicking people's ass with like the Force. And then my party left me on an abandoned moon. I had to make a new character. It was fun though. It was fun. But yeah, I'm just it was 3rd edition D20. It is what it is. I can take it or leave it.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about it. Travis, we were going to talk about Star Frontiers with you.
And then you dropped again.
Yeah. For some reason, just everything like crapped out here. I don't know, and then I couldn't hear you all. So, but I was just gonna add that I've never played that version of the Star Wars that you guys were talking about, the Fantasy Flight version. But I was going to say it sounds a lot like I used to play a lot of Feng Shui, like having the opposing dice and everything. So
I think it's I
it's
definitely
similar.
think-
It's not the
I
same.
mean,
But
I think it's similar. I've never played Feng Shui, but
it's a lot.
my friend Isaac, who taught me Star Wars, that's his main game is Feng Shui. So that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's his main game.
But yeah, I saw somebody in the chat there that you brought up had mentioned that there was Endless Quest books too. Yeah, and actually, the funny thing is the my favorite arc in Star Frontiers is the crash on Volturnus. That whole that whole 3 adventures of being on Volturnus is a great arc in that. The Star Frontiers, and I know that they did an Endless Quest book for it. I've never owned it, but I've seen it. So, but yeah, Star Frontiers. It's like a lot of fantasy games that I've ever run, like whether it was or played in. I have a friend who ran us through the 40K games. We played a lot of 40K that way, but most of the time it was like percentile dice. And that's how this is run. So it would be percentile dice is how your stats and everything is, and your attack rolls and so forth and so on in Star Frontiers. But I mean, mainly Star Frontiers. I never really got into a lot of like space combat when I ran it, but it was mostly I was running like the crash on Volturnus and just the adventures that took place on the planet as the adventurers were going through it, and going through each different. Stuff leading up to the battle on the planet. So,
yeah, Michael, another $5 super chat. He said he would love to run Traveler, but does not have a fancy studio setup. Well, do we have fancy studio setups?
I sure don't.
Have you seen my actual place?
I do have a fancy studio setup.
No, I should watch. I don't watch. What's funny is I'm in a couple of actual plays. Of course, I'm on one tomorrow night with Chubby Funster. Which we'll have to talk offline. Which of you was a huge Skyrim fan? Any of you? No.
I'm a big Skyrim fan.
Are you?
Yep.
Chubby.
we might be. We might be looking for another player.
Speaking of which, Matt, I need to talk to you too. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's all right. Well, I didn't want to. I'm actually interested in that. I've been interested in that game because I like Shadow Rim. Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I own the book. I've kind of skimmed it. I just like the whole character creation process. But I'll stop there because that is not a sci-fi game.
That is definitely not.
Correct.
That is definitely not. No, we'll talk offline about that.
Another episode.
But they did make a sci-fi game that really didn't go over real well. The same company.
Yeah. The thing is that I don't think you need a fancy studio setup really to run a lot. I mean, we played over Discord. One of my users never showed. He did a cam, like you see Cam's picture, which was fine. And I used my little thing called Map Tool. Map Tool. I don't know if you ever use it. It's like a free open source, VTT. You can download it. It doesn't have any hard requirements or anything like that. Of course, you can use Roll20. So I don't think it takes anything elaborate. We just mostly played over Discord. So I mean, how I think that's probably how I would run it
I
too.
think that's how like 99% of people do it.
Yeah.
I think when somebody, I think even, somebody, I've heard people say, "Oh, I'd love to stream or whatever, but I can't afford the gear." Now, I found a way to afford some fairly decent stuff, but my setup is not like professional.
Right.
Just do it, man. You got a camera in your computer. That be sure you use some kind of mic. Make sure your sound is as good as it can be, and just slowly, get things better. Get a better mic when you have the money to get a better mic. I think wearing headphones is, making sure you can hear right, and do it exponentially. You don't got to buy everything at one time.
Yeah. When I moved all my actual plays to my Rumble channel, Gaming with Lordmatteus, because the algorithm doesn't like them. But not that they're great anyway. But when I started my Lamentations of Elemental Evil campaign, I was just using OBS, and they weren't streamed. They were just pre-recorded. But OBS would allow me to show images, maps.
Yeah.
Everyone could hear each other, that sort of thing. And we were using Discord as well for sound. And I would share the screen, the OBS screen, to Discord. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I did. And now with Restream, Gary's game that we're running on Tuesday night, like he can share his screen.
I have OBS. I have OBS up right now.
So, Jeff, you're saying you want to host more role-playing games?
Sure. I just got to find time. I got to find what day we can do it.
Yeah.
So what game are you going to run? Traveler? You said you're about to start.
I'm thinking about it. I've always wanted to. I thought it would be great.
Well, I don't have any liquor on the table right now, or I would take a drink. But before you start your Traveler game,
oh, here we go.
I really think you might want to look into Stars Without Number. And
I see. I think I may have messaged Cam that he was asking for like a quick rundown like the other day. And I said, somebody may mention Stars Without Number.
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't played it. I haven't played it yet. It's in the works. It is in the works. But
and who is that by?
It's Crawford. Kevin Crawford.
Kevin Crawford.
Okay.
Yep,
Kevin Crawford. And look, this guy's been around forever. And Stars Without Number, there's a revised edition, but I think the revised edition is even a few years old at this point. And I'm just getting turned on to his stuff. But basically, everybody will talk about Worlds Without Number, Stars Without Number, and they talk about the charts in the back for world building. And for years, that's all I looked at. I'd look at his stuff and kind of get ideas for this or that, And then I just started reading Stars Without Number, and I was like, holy crap, there's a game. There's a whole game here. He gives it away for free practically. I did buy the deluxe edition because the deluxe edition has mechs. But I'm going to tell you the truth. None of the rules are that complicated. Yeah, like his mech rules are like maybe 3 pages. You know what I mean? It's OSR, which means it's familiar. It's not going to get too crazy. Starship combat, I think, has enough detail in it to make it a little more interesting than most Starship combat in games. Mm-hmm. There's some synergistic systems that happen and command points, and you have a captain and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think Stars Without Number. Traveler might be great. Do Traveler, but you should look at Stars Without Number.
I do have some Traveler books already.
If you've been investing.
This sounds like the classic problem of way too many games and
Yeah.
way too little
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Yep.
He's playing Traveler.
Yeah.
I have the core rulebook, then I have the 2022 update.
But but that doesn't mean that you can't download the free version
That's
and
true.
use some of the tables and everything
Yeah.
for your
Oh,
world
absolutely.
buildings, and especially you
Oh
know,
yeah,
Well, and
no.
Stars
The
Without
sector,
Number, I
yeah.
would say Stars Without Number is sort of a love letter to Traveler.
Is it?
I think he, I've never played,
Nice.
I've never really played Traveler, but I have read through the books and the character creation, and all that kind of stuff. And I really think Stars Without Number is like, well, I want to do a modern D20 style system, but oh, look at that.
Yeah. This is my latest acquisition.
Traveler,
Do what?
my friend. Said, look,
Yeah,
Traveler.
probably, or run it.
Has anybody played any Star Adventurer RPG Pundits game?
I have.
No.
I own it. I haven't played it.
I own it too. I've never played it.
I like the way he does character classes actually and the archetypes.
Yeah.
It just makes Gary is gonna nod, maybe laugh at me. I don't know, but it just makes things a lot more challenging for the player because you're not guaranteed like more hit points when you gain a level. You have to roll on a chart, and that sort of like randomizes how your character develops. So it's almost like the reverse of Traveler. Because once your character in Traveler's made, he's made. Right. But what I like about the way Pundit approaches character class and character class design is that you're kind of discovering your character as you play, and I think that's kind of fun. Like, am I going to be the tough guy? And yep, I rolled extra hit points, or heck, I got a +1 with my laser blaster or whatever, So I do kind of like that, but I've never really played it, and it is supposed to be designed to emulate Star Wars, and it's a rather small book, like not many pages. So I don't know if I at the end of the day, like if I'm going to play Star Wars, I'm going to play West
Star
End.
Wars.
Yeah, I got my West End game stuff right over there, So
see, I kind of wanted to do something that would be. Sorry, Cam, but I like the idea in Firefly of kind of
Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of Firefly.
Yeah, and so that's I think that and other similar type of where you're on literally the frontier of space and you're trying to run goods, maybe all kinds of stuff, all the stuff that I don't want. I've always had this feeling and that like the do you mix your sci-fi and your magic? Do you know? And I kind of always liked the idea of keeping them separate, but then I'm a huge Star Wars fan, right? So it's like break my own rule and that type of thing.
Did you check out the stuff that I sent you for Rocket Ship Empire?
I've got it.
19,
I've got it. I've got it.
They do mix the magic with that in there.
Do they? And again, like I said, I've broken this rule because obviously we were talking about Shadowrun. Shadowrun breaks that rule clearly. I mean, it's cyberpunk and magic, or cyberpunk, and fantasy and kind of mixed together. I guess technically it's all fantasy,
right?
But
and that's the key, isn't it? All fantasy. I mean,
it is.
Sci-fi is to an extent all fantasy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's fantastic. Fantastical at a minimum. Yeah.
Sure.
But Rudite just sent me a message about 20 minutes ago. I saw. And glad to see you're in the chat too, man. I guess we should read the super chat. I've had it up here.
And, sure.
It says there is a Warhammer 40K RPG book out there. I have known about it. So Cam, that's more your genre, right? That's
Warhammer.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a Warhammer guy at all.
No, is that Snobs maybe?
He likes Warhammer stories. I know. I don't know that he's involved with any of the games. So
okay, all right. Because I've never been into the Games Workshop genre. I know that they've, there's a bunch of stuff. I just,
Yeah, I don't need another hand in my pocket, So
yeah.
I
And
know
I
too
know the
many
RPG is
guys.
not the same thing as regular Warhammer 40K.
Yeah. I know too many guys that like have just barely cracked open, some Games Workshop product, and I don't see them for like 5 years. They have no money left, no hair. They got paint on their fucking clothes. Excuse my language. Sorry.
I wonder what they're doing.
Just a wreck, man. They're just a wreck.
Hey,
Stay away from that stuff.
They keep increasing their prices. It's crazy. Like I have like Warhammer 40K stuff and fantasy and everything, and I've given some away to one of my good friends and just said, hey, just keep these and everything. He's kept them, but yeah, it's just like you said, Gary. It's one of those hobbies that when those people get into it, man, the addiction to plastic and all the gray unpainted pieces is just
Yeah.
I have boxes of shame in my basement.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, and
I do too. And
thing
I played
about-
my first game with minis like 2 Sundays ago.
Nice.
I've been gaming since mid '80s, and I've never done anything with miniatures before.
Oh man.
Oh
Yeah.
I started
Congratulations.
in the 90s. Yeah.
We
I've
were
done
always
some
theater
things
of the
with
mind.
miniatures.
So
Yeah, awesome, dude. I have played with miniatures some, but most of the time I've played miniatures. It wasn't a role playing game.
yeah,
I was into that Star Wars X-wing game, and then summers with my uncle. They had their wargaming crew,
right.
and I didn't have to paint anything because I was a kid. They all had, what I mean?
Yeah.
That's great. I've never painted them. I have never painted the miniature. We were at North Texas, and Reaper was there. Remember, it was like free mini. Sit
Love
down
Reaper.
and paint. Nah.
I got a bunch of unpainted minis, and then I got one that no matter what won't stand. It always starts leaning over, and I go hang him upside down, and he straightens out for a little bit, and then I put him back up, and he just starts.
Well, he's meant to be dying. You see, he's in the process.
Well, he broke his wrist off. I had to glue that back on 3 times.
So,
and it's,
Wow.
I do have a question for you guys, because this is something, you brought up Warhammer, and this brings up a thing with sci-fi, is that there's a lot, Matt sometimes talks about he doesn't want to play games because he doesn't understand the technical, like he's not smart enough somehow to play sci-fi. How would this work? I think that's
but the
ridiculous.
lawyer? Wait, what?
Yeah, the lawyer.
No,
It's
I can
not
look.
about the
I can
rules.
BS you. I can BS you.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's
my
more
thing,
like the Star Trek, like I given her all she's got, Captain. The flux capacitor isn't phase shifting to the. I'm like,
and
I'm
that's how you play it, man.
No, it was called technobabble in the script, right?
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Well, and I have the opposite. I have something similar, but it's on the opposite end. Where when I think about something, it's just so much lore.
Yeah.
At this point, pop movies out, TV series. I mean, they've just got so much of it. I want to be the guy that, with Star Wars, you can't really get it wrong. You got 3 movies, whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, lots of lore with Warhammer. I'm afraid to step into that.
There is, and there's. I think that's a huge intimidation factor. I think Traveler is not. You can make Traveler whatever you want. I think, and that's
You could.
There are empty sectors where you can just make your own crap. I mean, that's true with any fantasy game too. Even Forgotten Realms, there's vast areas where you can put whatever you want in. But I mean,
or you could just not play Forgotten Realms.
Or you can just not exactly.
Well, it's just like Matt said about like BSing somebody. It's like my favorite line from "Thank You for Smoking." It's just all you need is one line of dialogue just to change whatever you need to do. Oh, we could smoke on this ship because of the blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Right. You can always just change whatever you want and just play it. So,
Well, I mean, the new ships in Babylon 5, that they've got artificial gravity, starting in season 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and then was it in season 2 or season 3 where they discover that the ships of the I can't remember the dude.
The Vorlon.
The Vorlon are living ships. So like,
yeah.
So there's like a
spoiler alert for those who haven't watched a 30-year-old show.
Yeah, there's an element of fantasy to that show, but that's what I think make that show.
Oh, you mean like the Techno Mages, which is like one of my favorite arcs in there?
Yeah.
Well,
Love the
Now,
Techno
don't
Mages.
spoil too far because we're on
Oh,
episode
that's
4. We're
that's
doing
not too
episode
far.
4 on
well,
Wednesday.
Technomages showed up in season 1. So
Yeah.
and for the main arc, they're gone. That's they've left. But
Yeah.
well,
for that arc.
yeah. Well,
But-
right. Yeah.
But I wanted to.
Crusade's a different thing.
I think
Exactly.
Nerds.
Exactly.
Yes,
Sorry.
we are.
Okay. Well,
the
we have
technobabble though. I think really depends on like what kind of game you're going to run. Like I think Star Wars. I mean, that's like science
Yeah.
fantasy, really, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like the Expanse is hard sci-fi. So like I if I were to run this, and I would like to run it because this is like a really cool system. Like I'd be pouring over like the charts and some of the
That's hard science. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I think
'Cause-
Traveler is kind of a mix.
it is.
You know, the
Well,
Expanse is. You're laughing that the
this-
Expanse is hard science. It really
Well,
is hard science.
this has charts about how the distance between planets and how much time it's going to be depending on the size of your Epstein drive.
Epstein.
Yeah, I know, it's like-
I'm never gonna get over that.
I
one.
know. But-
well,
Those poor kids.
we've got I'm gonna block the third springboard there. We've got 2 springboards here. We've got the Technobabble, which I think leads into Star Trek, and we've got Babylon 5. So why don't we talk about Star Trek a little bit and then Babylon 5? Does that sound cool
That
with you
works.
guys?
Yeah, whatever you want to do, man.
I love
Star
Okay,
Trek
and-
first.
And Davina in the chat mentioned the FASA Star Trek role playing
Mhm.
game.
I've never played it. Heard great things. Heard
I
great.
bounced
have
off
to.
it. Haven't played it.
I wish
Never
I would
played
have
it.
got it back in the. It was in the 90s, right? That's when they were.
No, that goes back to this.
Well, but I mean, they were
think.
still making it in the 90s.
I'll tell you who's a big fan of that and who's played it is Double D. I
Really?
think
Oh, really?
He still has his original.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
think he's talking
that's
about that. Yeah.
Well, there's been quite a few Star Trek games. This is another. I'll just start out, and then I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Again, the same group of mine. We played mostly homebrew, and Star Trek was one of them. This was in the TNG days, maybe around 3rd season or whatever, and we jumped into that and had really, really fun games. And I don't want to talk about that because that's not what this topic is about. But we enjoyed that, and we referenced some of those FASA products. And I remember there was a TNG supplement that was like based around, I think it was about either the 1st or 2nd season. And we kind of used that. And then we, of course we were fans of the show. And in regards to the Technobabble and stuff, there was a lot of other supplemental material like the Starfleet technical manual and such that they had one for the original series. And then they came out with one for the next generation. It was basically all about the fake science of it, and we just delved into that, and it was all over the game. It's like, oh, we're going to use the internal dampening whatever, and all this stuff, and go and just went mad with it, and that was a lot of fun. And it's like, is it right or is it not right? Or it's like, well, it's what's in the book at least, so we're kind of just running with it. But we did that. But there are these other published games. There was the FASA one, and then there was one by it was Last Unicorn Games, I think, in the 90s that
Thanks
had
for
like that had
Easier night.
a Next Generation and a Deep Space Nine series of games, and then more recently, is it Modiphius that puts out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you guys played any of those games or interested in?
I
any?
haven't played, but I've had a couple people tell me that the Modiphius Star Trek is at least worth looking at.
Mhm.
I've not played it, but I was a beta tester for the Fallout Modiphius, so it's a similar system. But so
Okay.
I've played with the mechanics. That's it, and the mechanics are sound.
Okay.
Not my favorite, but you could definitely play around with it. But I've heard good things too, Cam. I've heard good things.
Okay, I've downloaded a few of the free Modiphius ones, and I haven't really delved into it. But I've seen it as a game store around that. It's been on the shelf, and I've been eyeballing it. But again, more more games than time kind of thing.
Well, you just
Blue
cleared out a whole
Slingers-
bunch of space with your board games, so now you've got to fill that space back up.
Right. No, it's like Chinese food. You keep eating it, it's just still the same amount.
Dude, let me tell you, McKay's. When I walked in there, right, and of course I spotted the stuff I showed you guys earlier, but I had to walk past like the board game section, and I'm like, oh my god, Cam would just be in trouble.
Mm.
So, because they had like all kinds of stuff. They had a whole section just for Monopoly. I'm like, really? So, I know like on their RPG products that they've carried. Of course, it's a used bookstore, but they also carry like used movies and you name it. You could buy records there. You can buy old video games and stuff like that, old console systems, you name it. But I did find a couple of things, and yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like I said, I picked up a bunch of books, but I was like, man, Cam would love seeing this stuff.
Yeah, I'm an easy mark for that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
but
go
I wanted
ahead.
to kind of go back to like the Star Trek as a concept. I think would actually make for a great campaign like structure, regardless of what system you're using.
Mhm.
Because that will allow for multiple characters for your players.
Right.
Especially if you wanted to get kind of real high level and meta with it, where maybe you have your command crew is the players, but then they can, when they have away missions and stuff, they roll up smaller characters and stuff. Gary and I talked about this recently.
Well, Ben Gibson is running something just like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who kind of turned us on to it. And next Sunday, Ben is going to run a game for me and Matt and a couple other guys, and I'm
cool.
really
Are you gonna stream it?
about it.
On-
I don't know.
I gotta
Gotta get
I don't
permission.
think Ben. I don't think Ben will mind. But what's really cool about this is he's got this long-standing campaign, and something went down in the campaign. And rather than like roll it out to see what the outcome is, we're going to actually determine the outcome for him, which I think is really cool. I love it when I get to participate in a small way in someone's campaign. Diversity Dragons ran something like that in VentureCon 2 years ago, and he just was like, "Oh, by the way, you rescuing the princess is now canon in my world." And I'm like, that's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
That's how I run all my stuff at conventions. It's all set in my world.
Carries forward.
But going back to that actual subject, I was going to say, you could even, with that, just like he was talking about, you can use any system. You could even flip systems. You go to where, like, how like the whole like going back in time and being in a world where it's like a cowboy world or whatever. Break out Boot Hill, whatever. You could just change it. Say, look, we're going to do this, but you're still your officers or your red shirt retainers.
Right. Yeah.
That's with
Can I tell you how Matt, you mentioned about that, the way we did it in the Star Trek game. Originally we started out and we were captains or commanders or something, but we had like small ships. So we were like frigate, people. Sure. And we had like where we interacted, each of the players had their own ship basically. But then later on, we played a version where we were, seasoned captains, and it was this game, and it worked out fine. We had 3 players and the DM, but we would just go around. It's like basically we'd be taking turns, and they were long, between. And so we developed a system where basically each of us were playing 3 characters in each game. One of us, you were playing a captain, and then the other players were playing either a bridge officer and then a lower decks officer. And then so everybody was playing a captain, bridge officer, lower decks on the other players' ships. So cool. Even when everything was going around, you had something that you were doing, even though it was highlighting the the captain character, for example, and that really worked out well. So anyway, that was just one version of that.
I'm gonna offer something else. I think that's, if you're doing a Star Trek style game and you've got a big crew, I think that's a great way to do that. I will say I ran an Age of Rebellion game, which is the Fantasy Flight Star Wars, sort of the more of the conflict, Rebels versus Imperial thing.
Right.
And I discovered in that game that there are some games where splitting the party makes it cooler and feel more like a movie. Like if you look at the finales of Star Wars, you got your land battle, your space battle, and then your Jedi stuff happening. That kind of naturally happened in that game. I gave them a mission.
Can we go to Canto Bites?
No, never.
Well, so a number of ways to that. It's cool to have the crew, but splitting the party in a sci-fi game is not the same as splitting the party in D&D.
Sure,
I agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting called out here. How dare you talk to other podcasts having second watch at home?
Well, I mean, we're both here. It's kind
Yeah,
of like,
it's a second
know,
watch.
look, we've been together for a year now. It's time to step out a little bit, maybe spice things up.
Yeah.
Invite some
We
more
wanna-
people.
Yeah, go to my channel, hang out with us. You know,
Yeah,
Death
and
Angel
we'll-
Shadows and Shadow Lot. Cam, we'd love to see you.
Cool.
Yeah, and I will, as I said earlier, I'll share the collaboration link. I don't know if you guys have done the collab links yet.
I have yet to do anything.
Okay,
like that. I am the least technologically savvy person you've
I'll
ever
explain it. I'll explain it to you
Cool.
offline. It's kind of cool because what'll happen is like this stream will show up when they're looking at your stuff, and your stuff will show up on mine as suggested, that type of stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Okay.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I did it with Travis. I think was the first one we did it with. So
if I was to summarize here,
I was his first.
Jeff, you're going to be running a Traveler game. Gary, you're going to be running the Fantasy Flight Star Wars. Travis, you're going to run Star Frontiers, and Matt, you're going to run Alien or
No, just Alien.
what? Okay,
Just Alien.
Just Alien. Okay. Well, I want to talk about that too. How about that after Babylon 5? We'll
Sure.
talk about that.
Hey,
Well,
Ultra.
What's up,
I know you were talking about the Star Frontiers, but I really would love to run Rocket Ship Empires.
That's the other one
1936,
that
my
you-
own
I have
version
not
of it.
Okay, I want to hear
What is
about that too. We're
Did you
It
make
is
you
so
made that?
archaic. It is
Or-
so archaic, and
Okay.
I wanted after I read it and everything, and I saw like it just like fell off, and I don't know what happened to the author or anything about that. I never really dug into it. It's just I had picked it up.
Is it an
and
older game or was it published
I,
recently?
I think like 2008 around
Okay,
that time and everything
and
is when I picked it up before my daughter was born. Yep.
Okay, is it a pulp sci-fi kind of game?
Yeah,
or
it's
what?
diesel punk. It's
Okay,
a
that-
diesel
okay.
punk.
Oh wow.
Head
Oh
and
my god,
face. It-
I would love
so-
that.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is like the reason why they have it like 1936 is like they've kind of like put World War II out in space.
Oh, awesome.
So and that's interesting, but they also you still have like Tsarist Russia is out there. You still have
Yeah.
like China still has its like empire, and that's where I was talking about like the magic and everything, like the East, but it is very pulpy. So it's like it like
Well,
I was
Ming the
we were
Merciless
talking
was
about.
kind of a campy character, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like I just think about like Flash Gordon, it's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
rocket ships and
Yeah.
swords and
Well,
it just that's
I
Very
absolutely love that genre. There was a miniatures game kind of a collectible miniatures game that came out by WizKids called Rocket Men a few years ago. It's like the construct. Do you guys maybe I don't know if you're into the board games or whatever, but they had a pirate game
I love
like
board games.
where you make it's like styrene punch outs and then you make the little pirate ships and you fight. And they had a Star Wars one also, but then in between they had this other one called Rocket Men, which was very much this kind of thing you're talking about, this pulp sci-fi, we're going off in rockets and we're going to Venus and all that kind of stuff. And I really loved that. And it completely flopped, it was one of these games that just died. Like maybe the one you're talking about. I hope it didn't die, but it sounds like
I'm pretty sure it died. But
Okay.
but I have all the stuff.
okay. That's
I'd garbled up all the stuff because I was like, I'm a big fan of like, especially history, like the whole World War I to World War II. I mean, that's what this spans. But
Yeah, you're a history major,
imagine.
right? So
Well, I mean, I've a lot of history.
you
So-
loved yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
ever hear of a game called Cosmic Patrol that was put out
Yes.
by okay, that's another little kind of light, well, I shouldn't say light, little role-playing game that's put out by Catalyst, right?
Right. Let me just put this out here. So, like I said, World War I, World War II, but imagine if War of the Worlds was real in that whole
Right.
time period.
Right, yeah.
So this is how you get the technology and everything, because like in Rocket Ship Empires 1936, you have where like the Martians. That's my idea about it. It's like where we actually take, and I do that, but in the actual book and everything, the author had it set up that Martians were basically keeping us as the rats of the universe on Earth until like something else is coming out, and then they're like, we're letting the prisoners out because they're going to be worse against them than we need it. You basically, I'm going to fight evil with another evil, and that's how they kind of talk about us. It's like, the rats of the universe. We're going to let them out, and so that's they made all these agreements with all these different countries.
Yeah.
So and it's like, here you are in space. We want you to fight it out a little bit before we send you out to fight the great evil or whatever.
All right. I we should do Jeff, write this down. We should do a show talking about that because I would love to hear more about it.
I sent him all the stuff.
Diesel
Okay,
Punk?
cool.
He's got it, so he can send it to you.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, just a programming note. I have to leave for another show that starts
He has to go get ready for
at
another
11
show.
Eastern.
Yeah.
But I've got a little bit more time here. Can we jump to does anyone have anything else to say about Star Trek? No. Okay. Do we want to go on to Babylon 5 real quick before I have to jump?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
As maybe some know, we're doing this Babylon 5 retrospective show, and as a result of that, I was like I remember having Babylon 5 role-playing game stuff. So I do have a little bit of that. And some miniatures game stuff that I never played either one of them. You guys, Jeff, you mentioned you just got this one, and what do you guys know? Well, basically, I'll just turn it over to you guys. What do you know about Babylon 5 gaming stuff?
Zero. I didn't even know it
Okay.
existed.
Absolutely zero.
I knew it existed. I've seen the miniatures game and everything, but I've never played it. And like I said, I've seen
honestly, the closest thing I've ever had to a role-playing game that remotely resembles Babylon 5 would be my copy of Mass Effect for my Xbox. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Okay.
So this is
Well, I should have researched better than apparently for this. Jeff,
it was just a fluke. I just asked him off the cuff, and apparently there's something called Babylon 5 Wars. This is the second edition, and I picked these up at here.
There you
go. And this, which of course the green screen's gonna throw off because the ship is green, but of course this one's, got complete ship.
It's
It's inside
like
that
Starfleet
was
Battle's level of complexity.
this one. This is like all color. Well, look, it's invisible.
Green screen problems.
Yeah, third world problems. But it's all in. The whole thing is in color and.
I know Michael does know about the Babylon 5. I guess there were, according to Michael, I think there were 2 different publishers of Babylon 5 role playing game.
So this one is Agents of Gaming.
Okay, see that I think I've got some product from them. It might have been the box set, the miniatures box set.
Yeah, this is not a standalone project and requires Babylon 5 Wars 2nd edition and militaries. So I'm guessing this is probably. I got it because it's Babylon 5 stuff, and I got to have Babylon 5 stuff.
Well, okay. So in terms of a Babylon 5 as a setting for it, it's not one that I would particularly gravitate towards because it's such a strong storyline. It's not that there isn't a universe there to play in, but and that's one of the things I've always enjoyed is taking an IP of some sort and like, well, let's do a game here in this world or whatever, and kind of playing in a corner of it. And you could certainly do that in the Babylon 5 world. It's big enough to do that. Yeah. And you could take things in the main storyline too. If you wanted to go, okay, you got the Earth Minbari War era or the Narn and Centauri, war. You could do anything in there. But it's not one that, appeals to me that strongly. Right. Jeff, what do you think? You've played a lot of role-playing games. Is it one that you said, oh yeah, that could really, does it pop into your brain as strong possibility?
Would I want to be on Babylon 5? Probably not.
Yeah.
That Babylon 5 would be a waypoint, something that you would go to, but you would be out there, maybe running a freighter or doing cargo type missions and stuff like that, or and having to worry about the pirates trying to attack you and stuff like that. But yeah, being home based on Babylon 5, no, that would probably you could do it in the universe, but not.
Yeah, I think there's a danger in any of these games when it's too much of a temptation to be like, oh, it's main. That's why I don't like Forgotten Realms. It's like these people are the main characters. We're not the main characters, and that's not terrible to do that, to play a smaller piece in something. But like with Star Trek or certain areas of Star Wars,
You
it's
could
easy.
break lore.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just gonna say Dragonlance suffers from that exact same.
Oh yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Stars Without Numbers is a sandbox game.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. And it's free. And it's free, just not the deluxe.
okay.
And you could
Well, I
definitely
already
build
spent the-
Babylon 5, Star Trek, Star Wars, or whatever you wanted in it. I'm that's all I'm gonna say.
yeah. But the Pirates of Drynax is a sandbox setting, so and it of course follows traveler rules and all that. I almost picked up a hex creation set, but I'm like, do I really need that? I could probably just use the book.
Yeah, I have a question. You were talking about would you want to home base Babylon 5? Could you home base DS9?
No.
I'm going to say that I think you could,
as a home base.
Really?
especially with the
you could.
war era and
Oh.
such. And if you're doing exploration into the Gamma Quadrant and such, I think you could really, I definitely think you could.
I think if you used, I think if the players were not playing high-ranking members of
Starfleet or something, yeah.
I think you could use Babylon 5 as like the
yeah.
proverbial village of Hamlet, right? And everybody, and then all the adventurers out there,
Yeah,
and then they come back and whatever. But
it depends on. I shouldn't say it depends on. There certainly are ways you can do that, because like there are characters that come and go. They're like archaeologists and things, and they do touch all these different areas. So I think you're right. You could do it. It just doesn't. For some reason, I love the show, but for some reason, it doesn't appeal to me that much as a role playing game. I don't know why.
I don't know. Like I said, I think it would be great as a waypoint. I don't know about a home base. I don't know how many civilian ships are actually based out of Babylon 5. They're probably just mostly running back and forth from Babylon 5 to other stuff. So you're living on board your ship. So
If I would have based anything with Babylon 5, I would do it on Mars.
Well, there's a lot of intrigue with Mars.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
and then you can just go anywhere after that. You could just pick.
Go to Io, go to whatever, go to other worlds. You
can still keep it human centric.
Mm-hmm.
And
you could imagine the stuff you could do with Psychor and dissidents and all.
Right.
I mean, you could do a ton of stuff like that
because it's all right there, and you don't have to be on Earth, and you don't have to. That's because it did revolve around a lot around Mars. So that's why I was thinking that if I would place anything, I would place it on Mars.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do it. It's and maybe I'm a hypocrite. Maybe I'd be like, hey, that sounds like an awesome idea. I could be convinced.
Well, I definitely agree with you though. Like, up back in the 90s, a buddy of mine was like, he just loved Dragonlance, and he bought the box set. They actually created an entirely separate continent, which is kind of a way for them to say you can still adventure in Dragonlance and not have to worry about all this other stuff. But the continent, no one wanted to go there.
Everybody wanted to,
they want to be a knight of Solamnia, right? Or they want to be a black robe wizard with like weird eyes, right? Like, but like the big story was played out, right? And so like, what are you really contributing? What are you really doing? So like, I was never interested. I was actually more of the Forgotten Realms guy, but I was first edition Forgotten Realms before it got crazy. And it really did feel like an open world where you can kind of do whatever. So I feel your pain on the Babylon 5 front.
No, I do. I do have a buddy who's I've been talking to, and he was thinking about doing a Dragonlance based campaign, which would be kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. I mean, even with Forgotten Realms, are you going to run into Elminster, or are you going to run into this guy or that? Drist. Now Drist has a daughter.
Star Wars is a really good IP. I think
you did a little bit. What did you say? It made Star Wars.
I was going to say that's what makes Star Wars such a good IP for role playing, is because it's really easy. All the planets are basically one climate. You know, there's always something new.
They're all
It's-
sand.
Yeah, they're all sand, they're all swamp, they're all fucking, you know, Arctic
Snow.
cold. No, they all have a native race, which is funny because, you know, ships are always coming
Dances
in and out
with
of there,
sand
but
people.
sometimes the natives don't even know how to fly a fucking spaceship. You know what I mean? There's like all kinds of stuff. But it's
Teddy
so
bears.
vast. You can literally create whatever kind of world you
Yeah.
know that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that universe. One of the things that I wanted to mention, because I've used other systems to do sci-fi games, but I've also used Star Wars systems to play sci-fi games that aren't Star Wars.
You can mine information from anything. I mean,
Right.
certainly.
Right.
You could
And
take Tatooine if you want a sand-based world. You could take Arrakis for that matter if you wanted
Dude,
to.
that's my
Dune.
favorite
I love
sci-fi.
Dune.
That is
Yeah.
my favorite sci-fi is Dune, the book,
Dune.
all
Same
of those
here.
books. And you know, I could think of a million ways to role
Would
play in
Dune
that
be a
universe.
good universe to?
Fuck yes.
Oh yeah.
But you have to understand it would be like Game of
I
Thrones.
did see a
Mhm,
game. I
mhm.
did see a
You would-
Dune
you would-
game there.
Yeah, you would. I think it would work best. You would have to. The players would have to be a royal house or connected to
Yeah.
said royal house.
You think
Right.
before the events of the main of the first book?
I definitely before that. In fact, probably thousands of years. You know, like probably around the birth of, you know, after the Bene Gesserit have kind of gotten
Yeah.
established.
Mhm.
But in that one, I think they would have to come from not even a major house. You can make up your own houses. You know.
Yeah. I think they could have been houses that were eliminated at some point.
They're
and-
all,
or
you know,
through
all of
attrition
those
or married
characters.
into.
Yeah, all of those characters are like the most highly trained combat assassin. I mean, when you read the Dune books, like the last thing you want to do is start a fight with a fucking prince or a duke. Like these guys have been
Yeah.
trained by the best. They've got all the best stuff. So you're already kind of playing a high level character with a lot of world power. So yeah, I think it would make a great role playing game.
I'm going to go back to what Gary said about Star Wars. You know what makes Star Wars so great as you know, just being able to do an RPG off of it? It's because in places of it, it's a Western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you go back and you think about like all of the fantasy that we play and or science fiction, it's the whole it's the West. It's the
Even-
Wild West. It's the frontier. It's
Yeah.
the
It
Well,
is.
border.
that's
what
why
it is.
Firefly
And
and
yep,
Lex-
Yeah,
that's why-
Firefly. I agree with
Yeah.
you. I
That's
love
why Firefly works, and that's another thing about the fan. I keep going back to fantasy.
I know
Flight
Camp
Star
Port
Wars. They've
did
got the
Firefly.
explorers, they've got the settlers. You know, all that stuff is taken
Yeah.
into account.
No,
Starfleet-
Jeff, I don't like the Firefly show, but I love the concept. I think that the whole thing that you guys were just mentioning with, you know, going around the different planets and, you know, it's kind of this, you know, multi-planet system and everything, but say it's just a different scale with the Star Wars. Like you're saying, there's all these planets all over the place, endless opportunities to do all these different things and in across genres. Again, like if you like the more the space wizard thing, you could go that direction. If you don't, you could go more the, you know, the smuggler route and all this stuff, you know.
which
Gunslinger.
is why the books were broken up. When you look at Edge of the Empire, there's so many rules in there having to do with like bounty hunting and smuggling,
Right.
and it's different ships. You know, that if you tried to put that with the Rebellion book together,
Slave One.
yeah, it just you know what I mean? It just wouldn't.
Yes.
It just wouldn't.
You get
happen.
Real
canceled.
name.
Yeah, and the Rebellion book gets into like, it's not a mass combat system, but it gets into how your characters could lead like a mass. You know what I mean? So you don't want that.
You,
in
you
this
mean not Boba Fett's starship?
No.
Edge of the Empire.
Yeah, there, you know what?
That's the one for you.
There
That's
is
the one for everybody.
You're right. Even if you're a Star Wars fan, those books are excellent just to page through. You know, there's just a lot of great stuff in there for all these, like you said, all these different areas of it. So yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah. So Cam's gonna leave here in about a minute, but I'm gonna try and see if I can play something. You guys probably haven't seen this. I know Cam has. I'm gonna change over to this. Let's
Cam will
see
miss you.
if
Yeah.
I can add it.
Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. This has been a
No,
great
thank you
discussion.
guys.
So much knowledge on these different things. I'd love to have you all back and discuss, maybe focus in on one or two other ones. And I'm sure there's many more that we could talk about. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Right on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I really appreciate all you guys responding. We had one other one that said he might show up, but I don't know if it was depending on if his game got off early or not. And if not, yeah, I definitely. He's reminding me now. Post the link so we can spread it. And I just got a message from Jason. My video is processing. Anybody ever deal with that? So
Yes.
I was gonna do a local video. Let me see if it'll let me do that. All right, let's see if this will show.
Jaquan wrote, "There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. It is the darkness of the soul that has lost its way. The war we fight is not against powers and principalities. It is against chaos and despair."
If you go to Zahadu, you will die.
All right, and then I've got a graphic here that I can throw up here. So this is the show on Sci-Fi Snobs channel that you can get onto, and this Wednesday at 11 p.m. on Sci-Fi Snob, uh, on the Babylon 5 retrospective, we are going to announce who our special guest is going to be on the 28th. You do not want to miss that. It is somebody very, very close to the show.
Worf.
Sorry. Worf? No, it's definitely not Worf. At any rate, let's see.
That's awesome, man. For landing a very special.
Did I? I think Cam did.
Yeah, I think Cam's out of here.
Yeah.
He does.
Cam's pretty quick to jump. At any rate, but I appreciate all you guys coming on. He's got to go because they have a show called Top Lofty Lounge. That's also on Sci-Fi Snobs channel. In case anybody wants to go, and we always try and support them. Without Snob and Cam, we wouldn't have the Babylon 5 retrospective, and I wouldn't have Cam. So I need my Cam. He's my. I don't know which of us is the funny man or which of us is the straight man. I haven't figured that one out yet.
We haven't figured it out either on the second.
Yeah,
I think we figured it out, bro.
we both kind of just
we have a pretty good fucking idea of who's what in this situation.
Well, I will say this in your defense, Gary. You are the Lone Ranger. Okay, you are the Lone Ranger just because of your proximity to Texas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm right up in the middle of it, bro.
That's
I
right.
love it here.
Yeah. The rest of us are East Coasters, aren't we?
Hey man, if I were gonna do a special on online gaming, the first piece of advice I would give is move to the East Coast.
Yeah,
because you don't know how many games, like I gotta eat dinner and start at 7 when like an hour before bedtime, and you know what I mean. And you guys are all like, "Oh, just get started."
And Michael sent another $5 super chat. 4 versions. By the way, happy birthday, Michael.
Hey, happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, he posted that earlier, and I meant to say that to him, but he was really he was like, man, you bring me on the show, and I'm like, I don't know if we got enough time, because we don't want to step on Snob's toes too much. We want to try and get him.
I have seen the Modifius, the Dune RPG.
They have sent me emails. Yep.
Yeah. So me and Matt, we do the show called Second Watch. So if you watch that show, you've heard me say this a lot of times. But I'm really slow to buy physical products. I'm really like the idea of like you guys with all your shelves and your whole room, like that freaks me out, man. If I get too, I can't have too much stuff. I've got my little corner, you know what I mean? This is all I really need. But I have seen it and I've heard nothing about it. I've heard nothing about if the Dune game is good or bad or how it works. And it's been out for a little while. You would think if it was good, there'd be a little buzz, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I think Dune, I think you could do a OSR Dune so easy.
Yeah. Well, I think it might be too niche, honestly. Like playing kind of a Game of Thrones type game. I mean, you really have to be into it. And I actually did play the Game of Thrones RPG about a year or so ago with a couple people, and it's a different way of like approaching game session.
For me, I was gonna say the big thing for me is if I'm gonna play a space game, I want to be in space a lot. I want to be visiting different worlds. I don't want to be stuck on a
word.
You know,
I hear you, and I think that's what most people, when you say sci-fi games, I think most people think space opera. They want their ship, they want their crew, and it's great, and it might be, every time I say it's my favorite, genre of role-playing game, I start like a new D&D game or something. Like I always go back to D&D, but the sci-fi genre, is really fun, and especially if you've got the players that get excited about it, and like any other game, I guess. But
and the cyberpunk genre is awesome too. There's a lot of different stuff, but I guess the last question, what do you think? Classless systems, are they the best suited for that? Because Travelers is a classless system.
So I go back and forth on this. Because I feel like I feel like role-playing games set sort of in modern times and up, like sci-fi and all that, we've gotten into this place of specialization. You know, where everybody, you kind of have to be a specialist in something because it's almost impossible to be a little of everything. It's too technical.
But you can't. I mean, they're all jack of all trades types of characters too.
There are, but I really like the skill based. All the Star Wars games are class systems, but I think if I were designing the next one,
the Star Wars ones they're class based?
Yeah,
I guess because you're a Jedi or a Sith.
It's
whatever.
Right. So it's skill based, and your starting skills are based on the class you pick, and if the skills are outside of your class, then it costs double XP to buy them or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Something like that.
I really want to try Traveler. If you want to run one of those, let me know. If any of you guys are, why not? Sure.
It's gonna
I can't get enough people here. That's why I'm trying to create a con around here. So
that's the other thing about sci-fi games is you kind of do need a command crew.
Yeah.
You need 4 to 5 players that are going to always be there because you're always on the ship together.
If you can't have somebody absent, because then you don't have you're down a crew member. I mean, you could say they're sick, stuck in the latrine, but
I guess you could,
or in bed.
I mean, you could work around it. You could always do it.
Yeah.
But it's better if you don't.
I was going to say that the specialization is just like real life. I mean, as of right now, I mean that's what it is because it's in the future. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, really, it's what we're living in. But I mean, and just like you said, you got to have 5 guys, 6 guys, or whatever, 6 people.
Somebody's got to fly the ship. Somebody's got to navigate.
You have to have your specialists for every little niche.
Probably need a medic.
Right. I think they like to use the term. I see this term a lot. Archetypes, right? You have these archetypes. You have like these initial skills, right? But you are free to kind of diverge. But you have, you are the military guy. You are the medic. You are this. You are that. So, I do think you need to have it at the core, though, skill based.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Because the more skills you have, the more
because fantasy is based. Fantasy is based on tropes from the stories, so you really don't need skills really.
Well, and also if you think of other than magic, right? Other than the whole magic rule set, it was totally possible to carry the entire sum of human knowledge in your head at one point. You know what I mean? there was only so much math. There was only
Right.
there's one Bible. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can get it all in there.
You
That's
you
not
could
going to happen nowadays.
you could be a
Yeah.
Renaissance man real easy, right?
Yeah. They would be
Exactly.
amazed
And
by
that's
every one of us, no matter how
also
low.
But
game, but it also makes the gameplay feel more sci-fi. What is that?
well, that's what I'm.
It's his
That's what I'm saying.
tricorder.
It's
His,
what I'm saying. Like when we were talking about the sum of all knowledge. Well, I have this AI.
Yep.
yeah.
I
And
have
that's
this
another
computer,
thing.
right?
Like, how are when I was talking about sci-fi games being retro at this point, how are you going to deal with AI? We don't even know how we are going to deal with AI. You know what I mean? How are you going to deal with AI in these new things? How
Play a synthetic.
sure. Yeah.
So you said you're running that, right? Okay.
No one will know.
I definitely want to get a Stars Without Number game going, but I've got, every time I start talking about the games I want to play, I get a message from somebody and things just start rolling. Next thing you know, Matt's in a cult he didn't know he was in. Woke up this morning and had no idea how his life had changed.
And Matt, you've been asked to come back on again by KAM. He's about the Alien game. He
Sure.
wants to talk to you about the Alien game, in a specifically. This is kind of a
Does
a
that
kind of a-
game? Does the big version of the Alien game? Does that have anything sort of space travel-y or?
Oh yeah.
Combat.
Yep. It
anything like
even
that?
has combat. Yep. And
Really?
there is like sort of like this loose synergistic effect. Like everyone has like their sort of thing that they're doing. So but it's it's free league, so it's still very abstract, which some people take or leave. So it's more of a theater of the mind kind of thing. You're not going to pull out miniatures and have
I
a
love
space
I love
battle.
Theater of the Mind though. I mean,
Same.
it works for like maps are fine, but you want the deck plans for a ship, or you want you basic okay, where are you going in this area or that.
Yeah.
But actually,
I don't like how the game plays just slows down once you pull out the battle mat. The tyranny of the grid, as Professor Dungeon Master used to call it.
Near, far, and out of range, and that is.
And if you even think about it, a lot of the hardcore grognards and OSR guys probably won't admit it, but I don't think they were using ranges either. They're just like, yeah, you're within range,
Absolutely.
-2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the old guys would. Of course, we just lost another one recently. Tim Kask passed away.
Yeah.
And that's we're losing them, man.
Yep. I went through this a few years back with comics when all the old guys started to go, and that was a rough.
Yeah.
It's funny, if you live long enough, there's going to be brand new old guys.
That's true. That's true. Well, hey, maybe some of us, or one of us might be one. Maybe Travis.
Maybe some of our.
Travis, you're young, right? You'll be a young old guy.
Yeah,
maybe some of our guests.
I guess I'm young. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean,
I look the part. I have good genes. I will tell you this. I will.
Do you? But do you have her kind of good genes?
Oh,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No. I have like, if you guys are any fans of Northern Exposure, I have some hauling, good genes. So
yeah.
I'm gonna live for a long time.
God, I remember that show. I'm surprised they haven't tried to reboot that one yet.
They did.
Did they really?
I'm a big fan of the show, so I've but I'm not going to derail any further. So
okay. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and run the credits. If you guys want to stick around for just a minute after,
sure.
I appreciate you, gentlemen. Travis, what's going on, real quick, with Full Metal Tilt? What else you got in the works?
Yeah, so we just got the surveys out. So soon, all of the backers will start getting their first little updates and everything of like what's been worked on. And actually, the way that my artist is working, we're going to have a pretty nice illustration book for the Bearer of the Unbroken King, and then we'll be pivoting over to the other two products. So
awesome.
But yeah,
cool. Matt. What's going on with you guys?
Well,
10:30, huh?
Yeah, I know. A half hour earlier because people apparently.
Because Chubby requested it.
Yeah, I know.
And there were a few more than Chubby, but Chubby was definitely the most vocal. Publicly.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10:30 Friday nights at my YouTube channel, Lordmatteus. We have the second watch. I occasionally do videos. And I have an actual play channel on the Mean Green Rumble Machine, where Gary and I will be posting things for running games and stuff. This
Tuesday night we're doing Luna, Texas.
It's a DM Scotty's Easy D6 game engine.
Yep.
Who's running?
I'm running it.
Gary?
1970s sort of occult action mystery.
Yeah.
Grindhouse movie stuff. Pretty much.
Scooby-Doo meets
Scooby-Doo meets well, so far it's actually been pretty tame. The last time I ran a campaign in that setting, it was very much Cowboy Sin City.
Yeah,
it was
Nice.
supernatural Cowboy Sin City, but so far right now it's pretty they're pretty moral, you know.
Yeah, well, we're getting there.
Getting there.
But Friday nights 10:30, we run about 2 hours. We like to chat about games, game mastery. We like to have guests on to talk about their products. We've had Travis on, for example. This Friday we have Alexander Makrisk on to talk about
Axe too.
Whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah,
whatever he man, that man. Oh, yeah. I feel like an idiot.
Oh, I know.
Dude, I'm so reading through the judge's journal. I'm just like, okay, and then he said that.
Yeah,
you know,
so
I'm making sure.
We're looking forward to that, and so that's pretty much with the YouTube and all that stuff. I do write things. They're right behind me, right there. Unfortunately, I write for the Red Room, so I'm banned off drive-through. So you'll have to go to Lulu, but there'll be links. Just go to YouTube. You'll find my links and stuff. But yeah. That's
maybe
what
we'll get you and you can talk about that stuff too sometime.
Well, that'll be awesome. I am putting together a Shadow Dark horror anthology. That would
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm digging this Shadow Rim game. I'll tell you. All right, let me run the credits. Everybody go check out Sci-Fi Snob Top Lofty Lounge. Watch us tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming with Chubby on the Shadow Rim game, as there's a bunch of other people, everybody in the game. And then Wednesday night is our big announcement of big reveal on who our guest is on the 28th. So everybody take care. See ya. And who?
Later.
Daniels.
Yeah. Stop guessing Star Wars, guys. We'll see ya. Have a good one, everybody.